I'm Susan Greenfield. I'm a neuroscientist based at Oxford University, but I also write books and I'm also a member of the House of Lords in the British Parliament. I think the biggest challenge that one faces is obviously reflected in one's own expertise, and in my case, therefore, it will be everything and anything to do with the human mind. I think that as the 21st century progresses, the very young mind and the very old mind are going to be particularly vulnerable, and yet at the same time offering opportunities that, if we get it right, could offer unprecedented opportunities. Of course, it's very easy to talk about solutions, and some wag once remarked, for every complex situation, there's always a simple solution, and it's always wrong. So it's very hard in sound bites to give an easy solution. I think part of the issue is to articulate the problem in the first place. In the case of the young mind, the issue concerns the unprecedented change in the environment that the 21st century represents. Of course, we've had technologies in the past, but never technology on a scale that's so invasive and pervasive as it is now. Never before has technology been a means, if you like, to an end. Never before has technology been an end rather than a means. In the past, fridges kept your food cold, cars have enabled you to go from A to B, the print press gave you insights through books into other places and times, but for the first time ever, people are spending significant amounts of time in two dimensions, stimulating only hearing and vision. At the other end of the scale, the older mind is, I think, posing some very serious problems, the most obvious of which is dementia. I don't know about Australia, but in the UK, by the middle of this century, 2 million people will be suffering from dementia. And if you think about how many people love you in the world, let's say 10, it's an easy number, that would mean 20 million people lives would be affected, would be devastated. In fact, in a way that's not comparable to, say, carers for heart disease or cancer. Devastating though those illnesses are, life-threatening though they are, you're still the person you were. But the sense of loss experienced by carers with dementia, I think, is going to be on a great scale and something we have to consider and accommodate, but even more important, try and stop. One says, okay, so what kind of shift in thinking will accomplish this utopia, this nirvana? And it is quite a big ask. I've often drawn parallels with climate change. I call this mind change. Climate change has many different issues, it's controversial, there's no obvious way forward, it affects us all, and it's in our hands to do something. And I think with mind change, we can break down the various issues involved. It's unprecedented, it's controversial, of course, it affects us all. But I think there's a big difference, and the big difference is that climate change is damage limitation, effectively. Whereas mind change doesn't have to be that. Mind change can be harnessing the technology to deliver what? To be a means instead of an end, but what is the end going to be? Now, I myself have a shopping list, but that shopping list is a rather abstract one. It is to give people a strong sense of their own identity, to give them or help them develop a sense of fulfillment, however idiosyncratic that is, and above all to be useful to society. Now, how do we do that? Well, of course, that's dependent on the culture, the resources, the agenda, the society. One size won't fit all, but the shift in thinking has to be at the policy level. It has to be at the level of democratic debate. And I think, therefore, the print and broadcast media do play an important part, because they it is who foment debate and thought among the general public. And only then will the general public lobby politicians. Politicians on their own cannot be expected to be proactive, to be visionary, to start imagining scenarios. That's not what policymakers do. Policymakers develop regulation, they ensure that they are meeting the needs of the electorate, and therefore the electorate in turn should start to debate and discuss things. There's no simple answer, obviously. It's not necessarily a shift in thinking, possibly, but more just being open to thinking that I think is really important. If one says that it's really important to foment debate and discussion and to have all sectors on neutral territory comparing notes and discussing these issues, a conference such as this is really valuable. Creative innovation is just what it says, and I think that creativity may tick the boxes for individuals having a sense of identity, for being fulfilled and being useful. That if we could understand, in my terms, in my brain terms, what was going on in the brain a little bit more about the creative process, then perhaps it wouldn't be such a rarity, such a much sought after commodity as it is currently. because at the end of the day, you can't just download creativity, you can't just buy it. It's something that has to come from within, and I think the more we discuss and debate new approaches to how we want to develop the world, creativity will inevitably be centre stage, and that's why a conference like this I think is very timely.